You're here.
Yeah, I situated the camera so you can see a nice collection of movies behind me here. Um, Nothing much, really. It's not. I got a lot of Blu-rays downstairs, but I love showing off the old video and some DVD too.
My apartment is filled with individual shelves everywhere, so there's not like a widespread of it. So every
Yeah,
video I ever do, I get really close to something. So it's like everyone's like, "You have so many toys and
yeah.
DVDs," and I really don't, but it just sort of looks like it because the way I lean really close into everything.
It's a great technique. I do it in movies too. You just get out close and you'll show it.
Yeah, it looks like you got more to offer. So you just caught me in the middle of reading. I was just
Oh,
just happened to be reading this random some book. I don't know, but you seem to come along, and it's all good timing. Richard, thanks for coming and chatting with us. We brought you here because we're having our fourth year of our terrible 2-day film festival in Toronto, and it's a weird time, so we're gonna celebrate it with everyone. And when we can't have a lot of people together, we can just spread it out to your home. So we're broadcasting it live for everyone to see for free. When we had our very first one, it was one of your films that closed our first night. Um, Bigfoot ate my boyfriend, I believe.
yeah.
Yes. One of the best parts of that was it was the third film of the night. It was a little later in the night. A lot of the regulars that came to my monthly events and to the other screenings that happens at Eyesore Cinema were kind of done for the night. There was a bit of open bar going on that first day, but
Yeah.
then a wave of people who had no idea what we were, that had just seen about it on some community message board, who were never at that place before, came, and they all sat down. They had no idea what they were in for, and it killed them. They were just like laughing about it. And those guys started to come back to the store, and every time they did, they would start to say they were the Kung Fu Kid. So it
Oh,
was
that's a good thing. Thank you.
yeah. So it clicked with them. It was an. I wonder how much it was because it was unexpected, or how much it was because they just wanted to be the Kung Fu Kid, I guess.
Well, that's really nice to hear, Adam. Honestly, like I make kind of silly movies, but they're not in your face silly. They're kind of mundane a little bit. So if it didn't put them to sleep at the end of the night, hey, I'm glad they all turned into the Kung Fu Kid. That's good.
Well, you also follow a good rule for home funded, low budget independent movies is your films are not very long.
That's good. Yeah.
um, we seem to have a rule with that this year. Everybody's film. It's hard to. I wonder how a lot of people get these out to festivals, because a lot of these guys are only about 62 minutes long. That seems to be the
Yeah.
average of each of these films.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, that's not a feature, but it's also way too long to be a short film. We'll be playing like 2 or 3 2-minute short films, and I have one 30-minute film in there.
Yeah.
So again, these are stuff that people would probably get ignored by any other festival, and I'm glad that I can show it off to them, and hence why every time when I think, oh, I don't know if anyone's gonna get it, I think maybe I'm the only one that would get this. It seems to work. Knock on wood. I've been lucky 4 years in a row on it, so let's see what happens. You've got your films being remastered. You're getting those out again yourself.
Absolutely. Those ones actually was it's only because they've already been out. They were distributed with like SRS Cinema, Gator Blade Films had. I mean, and at this point, all the rights had expired, came back to me, and I thought, well, now what am I going to do? Because I could just toss it to somebody else, or I could actually put some little bit of effort and kind of get them back to remastering the way I wanted them to be in the beginning, because now it's been a few years and I have more experience and a little bit more resources, and I thought, this is a good opportunity. I can do it. And I'm fixing frame rates. I'm raising audio levels. I'm adding in some sound effects that I didn't have time to do in the first time. And I even added some nudity to a couple of movies. So yeah, and then now they're out. They're on Kunaki. I tell you, I just kind of fell onto this. A lot of other filmmakers are using it, and I've been hearing about it. But looking into it, it's such a good way to independently get your stuff out. And it's the way you want it. It's sort of like you manufacture every side of it, and they'll just put exactly what you made available. So that's what really caught my eye on it. Kunaki.
And unlike, I know when you did your books, you've done them through Amazon as well, right?
Initially, it wasn't meant to be. Yeah, the first book, that Analog Nightmares, was set for like third party distribution on an actual book publisher.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was nearing completion, I was sending out. I think it was Tony Newton actually helped me out. He sent me a lot of connections with publishers, and I sent it to First Four right away. And the short story of it all is that they got back to me with the idea of intermixing the interviews in with the reviews, because originally I had them separate.
Yeah.
And that idea, I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. Geez, I could like follow the timeline a bit even more now with these interviews. And then it was somebody else who said, "Have you looked into independent publishing?" And I didn't believe there was anything in there that would help me. I thought, no way, no one would want to do independent. And then I looked at it and I thought, geez, I could do exactly what I want. I make the cover art. The royalties is a better deal in that. And the main key thing, though, was that publishers offered me, it would take about 2 to possibly 3 years to get it on the market.
Yeah.
And that was because they had already contracts to get books out. And that for me didn't really work, because one thing I was aware of is that there were people I interviewed that were of a certain age, and like they might not be around in 2 to 3 years, and I didn't want to wait. I just wanted to, I mean, it'd been percolating for like 7 years anyway. The first book there. So I mean, at this point, if I waited any longer, I mean, either somebody would beat me to the punch or somebody would die. So I said, independent, let's do it. That's I guess that's a long story about it.
No, I mean it gets the point across. I mean, I remember when before you had released it, I was mentioning about my 2 small books that I released via just Amazon print on demand. So you were asking opinions on that too to a bunch of people at the time.
What?
There's like good and bad out of it. Like the good is that you have complete control. You can make it look like what you want to look like, and nobody's gonna question you on it. You also, if you just sell it via them, you don't have to like get a bunch of them first and worry that you're gonna sell them.
Right. Yeah.
But then you also gotta wait till like they pay you, which is not the easiest thing in the world. And
that was a nightmare.
yeah. I think I've only had like 1 paycheck through them ever, but that's because then I stopped like pushing them. But then the other factor is if you do want to sell them like at conventions and stuff like that, something around this size, that can't be cheap. Like their print number for that, the shipping number for that is already like a huge price to there. So you got to make sure, okay, I know I'm going to sell this certain amount if I'm going to bring them for myself.
Actually, that's something I can just mention, Adam. That I looked into the ISBN and what it is to do in Canada. We can actually, you and I were in Canada, unlike Americans, for example, we don't buy an ISBN, but we can apply for it with the government, and the government can generate an ISBN that's purely our own unique number for the book or the item you have. And with that, now you own the rights to your own book. You don't say Amazon or anybody else who prints it does. They're just a print house. Yeah. So if you wanted, you could stop it, take the entire book, the entire thing, and just plop it into another print house because you own it. That ISBN is yours. But I also listed it with a number of other things. I think one's called Boker. I could be wrong about this, and something else. Right. But what that did is it allows you to have that book accessible to. They draw in from a main ISBN database somehow, all the bookstores, chapters, and so forth. And if you get listed in that main database, then everybody can get your book. You can order it through any unique situation, so you don't have to push through Amazon.
Yeah, which is the only reason I feel like pretty good about it, because at the long run they're just a good printing place. Which, again, as a Canadian, try finding a local place that's a affordable printing place. Like
exactly. Yeah. For us, still in the States, I mean, we have to sort of import our own books. Right? Yeah.
So it's the wonder, the new game for independent artists of any field. The Kanuki thing's great for people too, because it's great for me, because I got tired of wanting to to people who wanted to buy my films, I didn't want to charge them so much extra to ship it. So I was like, oh, it's already there. If for Americans, they get a great deal out of it. So all right, so I maybe lose a couple of dollars here and there out of them for them to do it, but in the long run, as opposed to the work I had to put into it, it was totally worth it. Yeah. So yeah, it's great that those options are there for us, because
Yeah.
I would say for the genre that you're in, a lot of those fans are really looking for it online anyway.
Yeah.
They're not hitting
Yeah.
up Walmart for that kind of thing.
Well, I probably don't want to talk about this forever with you. I know you have other things to mention, Adam. But yes, for the books, it was great doing the independent publishing and getting it out that way. For movies, it's really different. With movies, independent distribution, I mean, you're not getting anybody else who's out there marketing it for you. You have to be your own market person. When I was working with Ron Bonk and SRS, he was the nicest guy. He would do his own advertising, and he was inviting of me to join him. And I've never met a snake in distribution ever. I've always been able to deal with people that are honest, and they've always paid royalties and no issues about that at all. And Ron Bach is the nicest, sweetest guy. And that's
So you never worked with Trauma then, I guess.
Oh, I love Trauma. You can
yeah,
I'm
teasing.
But I know what you mean. Yeah, there's always a scrupulous somebody, right? But no truth. Anybody I dealt with is just been upright in front and always honest. And but the thing is, though, if you're with the distribution company, they will market it. They will do what they can because they have an engine that works. They're a business. When you're independent on like Kunaki, for example, the downside is that you're stuck with a link after that. You've got to start putting that link on Facebook and everywhere. And it's up to you to do it, and you generate your sales. And usually your sales are much smaller. So I wouldn't be expecting to make like a solid regular income off of something like Kunaki in my experience, but like say if you had a book sale that actually was reaching all markets and it had viable audience, like I fortunately did, you start to see a regular influx more of a royalty payment. Not always, but it's more dependable, it seems, because the markets are open for it. But anyway.
And it also depends on who you do have to do that, because Ron's been in that game for forever. The very first Terrible 2-Day Fest that you were in the same day, the films that played, Chris Seaver had a film at the beginning of the day, one from a while back from another Sasquatch movie. That's why we wanted to start and end the day with one. Yeah. And then Ron had She Kills in the middle, which hadn't come out yet at that time.
Right. Yeah.
But all of those, of course, because he was going to obviously release that himself. Gatorblade had your film. SRS also had Sasquatch. So those were already, guaranteed to at least get out to people to some extent. Yeah. But still, in the long run, as much as SRS gets their movies out, and you do see their titles like appear in a Walmart in the States. I don't think I've ever seen their titles appear in a Walmart up here, though.
It's just, I have it in a store. I always have to buy it off online, Amazon or something.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when the next year, Ron was again with a film. He's the only two-time award winner at Terrible 2-Day Fest, because then he had House Shark, and it was always that bit of people taking photos of them finding it in a Walmart, and we're like, oh, as a Canadian, that doesn't happen here.
I really stand corrected. I think I might have come across a couple things he did put out. I mean, Jurassic Prey is not on SRS, but that's a Polonia movie that, again, it was man-eaters or something. But yes, I thought I saw House Shark, and it turned out it was a picture I must have seen on Facebook. But again,
or maybe you saw Brett Kelly's the last Raiders of the Last Shark.
Oh yeah, of course I've seen that one too. But the other thing is that, like, it's not a fault of Ron for not having the movies available at SRS's films on a store. That's more the store, I think, because Ron has a reach. He has a good distribution hub that he's accessible to these stores. Mm-hmm. But the trouble is, they mostly want these mainstream movies. And if they get a like Raiders of the Shark in there too, it's because they're just jumping on a bandwagon. They're not really out there looking for like, oh, this film we want to have in the store. They're just sort of market grabbing, like Netflix, in a way of generating suggestions for you. So he might get lumped in with that. At least it seems that way with Walmart and stuff.
It's weird up here because I feel like they have a smaller board of directors for them up here in Canada, because the one local to me, the one closest to me, they always get, like, every month because I try to not go in there, but even before COVID, I tried to not go in there. But it seems like once a month they get like one Wild Eye release, and it's usually, by luck, it's the Canadian one. So when a friend of mine has released one, I'm like, oh, I can just pick it up at the store. Great. The last time I went in there, and what I see is Amityville Clown House, and I'm like, oh, this is not a Canadian one. This is not one I wanted. But
Yeah.
you can't win them all.
You know, if they get a couple in there and independent movies in those stores, you know, at least that's something good. But you're right. I mean, and even looking at just the selection, like maybe it's because home video is always slowly they talk about going out the door, you know. But like Walmart's and stuff here, Best Buys, I never go into a Best Buy, but when I have in the last year or so, like I mean, the video selection is, you know, like that small. You know what I mean? Like there's like, if you're lucky, you see 3 shelves. I mean, like that's everything is so downsized. It's all now big screen TVs and digital content stuff. And you know, I personally would probably not want any of my films on digital content, but you know, if that's what most people are seeing them now under, you know, that's it's going to be. But
At least for a while, you had a lot of your stuff. I think that's again through SRS doing it.
it was
Have your stuff
those
on
guys.
Tubi.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, Ron and all those guys, they have an eye on the future. They know where technology's going, you know. So, and I'm more of the guy who's my mindset is stuck still in videotape, and you know, always I'm thinking like, well, how do I like Zoom today? I was like asking my wife, so I just clicked the link. You know, I really it takes a while for me to get that new stuff, but
I mean, I'm the one attempting to try to do all that kind of stuff and become tech savvy about it, and then I sit in front of the computer and I just kind of go blank sometimes. So
yeah, yeah.
I messaged you a couple days ago. This one guy, we'll name drop him because he'll love it. Darcy, who normally has his Instagram handle as Drink My Cool, who
Oh yeah.
is obsessed with your films,
Oh
and it is
yeah.
always like, I'm not going back to Facebook. You have to tell him to go to Instagram. And he's like, well, he doesn't want to be that much online all the time. He's like, I don't care. You tell him to be here. He did a post on his Instagram stories just a couple days ago. I thought I had downloaded it, but I didn't, which was the classic meme of Bernie Sanders saying, I am once again asking you, and he superimposed into his hands 2 copies of Massage Parlor of Death and said, I'm once again asking you to watch this movie with me tonight. And,
Yeah, yeah.
which sounds like that's his pickup line. He goes and asks girls, do you want to come over and watch Massage Parlor of Death?
Oh well,
I don't
that's
know if it's
very
working for him.
no, that's very flattering. I got to. He picked me up. I'll go watch it with him. That's, very flattering.
He'll watch this, so he'll know. Great. You've since with the books, you've had the Christmas slasher that you did with the Wave guys, so they got a bonus film with that.
Oh, you know, I'll just jump right in. I mean, first off, Gary Whitson, nicest guy. Gary Whitson is the runner of Wave. It's his company. He's been doing it for like over 30 some odd years now, I think. But the point is that I really met Gary through the experience of writing Analog Nightmares. And it's because he's just so prolific. He's made so many of these shot on video movies. And then of course I also had met Dave and Phil Herman and all these other people that were associated with Wave. And I interviewed them because I was fans of their work. But since that time, we've all been staying in contact. And yeah, Gift Wrapped and Gutted was the second book, and I had this idea we should cross it into a film with the same title. So I worked with Gary almost in the same way he does his mail order movies, you know, like, or basically I was his customer and I was telling him, you know, what it is I was looking to do. And Gary is involved in that process. Like I basically handed him a fairly tight idea of the script, and he would look at pieces and he'd say, well, what if we change the location of instead of here to this town, because they will allow stripping in bars and stuff. Like he's really down on all the details, you know. And it was just a fantastic experience. And then to have all those Wave actors in a movie, it was a really good experience. So yes, Gift Wrapped and Gutted is the second book, and that Christmas movie, yeah.
Which was a good timing for that, because then there was the mail order murder documentary. So that's now sort of the big thing, which I had only sort of known of Wave, and it was this sort of like it was seeing it through the eyes of like a teenager thinking, oh, that's some weird dark web stuff.
Well, yeah, it looks like everyone's being strangled, right?
But not always though. Like sometimes it's completely the opposite direction.
Oh no, they're fighting in quicksand, they're drowning and all this stuff, drowning in water. But that's not just, you look at that and you think, well, that's like maybe really like out there kind of, you know, maybe that's not enjoyable, you know, like it's not a fun movie. But no, totally it is. And that's the secret, I think, to Wave, is that they're all sort of innocently done. And that's what I was noticing. Everybody involved in those movies was always happy and fun and doing them so much, but they were having a laugh at it. Gary's the nicest, sweetest guy. And I was like, well, how is it? And then I watched the movies. The movies are so much fun. Like the whole Wave library is just enjoyable. And they have various levels of, some are more mean spirited than others because, you know, other people like different things. But in general, they're all such fun, enjoyable films. You have a laugh at it, as weird as it is.
And that's what the normies kind of don't get about sort of the films that you and I are involved with, the stuff that I play with the festival, because the first reaction to certain people is like, why would you make that?
Yeah.
And
well,
you're reading into it too much.
Exactly. I mean, and I think a lot of it though is knowing what's happening behind the scenes. If you're watching just a movie with no explanation, your mind wanders, right? Like, you know, what is this? You know, what do these people live at the end of the movie? The other thing is that if you get to follow up and then find out, you know, who's involved, who shot it, you hear a commentary or two or some story, you really get a sense about what it was. Like Massage Parlor, people said, based off of a review I read, I'm sorry, it was Bloodbath and Beyond. They're a review website. Great guys. Mm-hmm. They said that a movie like Massage Parlor Death is so much more enjoyable when you find out the behind the scenes story, like how it was done for $50 and we bought a cot that was covered in ketchup blood that I ended up returning to the Walmart after we shot the movie, you know, just to get the money back. And that kind of stuff added to the enjoyment of the movie. That's the truth with a Wave movie too. You get to know that these are fun people and they're acting in such a way that they know is silly, but you know, it's just, that's the way Gary makes a movie.
You also see, and it stands with your films, it stands with a lot of the low budget guys that I really love. You see returning people, sometimes playing the same character, sometimes not, but sometimes playing another character that's basically the same character. But it shows this sort of group of friends who are doing these projects out of fun. You kind of feel like you're involved with it a bit. Like, you're invited into a party.
Exactly. I mean, you've had the same experience, is that when you're making a movie, it can be stressful and whatnot, but if you get the people together that's having fun, it's so much fun. You're enjoying that stress. You enjoy the process. And yeah, you'll take a rest at the end, but you look back and you say, damn, I'm really glad we made this movie because this is a document to all that fun we had, you know. It's like filming a party.
Yeah. And if there's going to be like lines that your friends are all saying after you filmed it, or your cast is saying together, at least it makes you feel like, okay, when this finally gets out to people, there are going to be people who are going to remember it, because there's no way that we can be the only people that could enjoy this.
That's so true. Yeah. And if it is, you're the only one who enjoys it. If that's the case, you just say, all right, guys, thanks. I'll make another one. The better one's coming up next, man.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
That's always my answer too. Yeah. The next one will be better. Yeah.
Right.
Which, I mean, somehow they're sticking around for all of us. So, I mean, or at least getting something going. You know, we're not aiming. I know you're not. You're not aiming to make the next Justice League movie. It's not something that you would want to be involved in.
That's the truth. It's. I make the film that I feel I would want to make, and I get people on board with it. This is just my own personal thing, but I'm not doing it to obtain a goal. I'm doing it more because, you know, I feel like I would like to make this kind of movie. And if somebody likes it, I'm really excited about that. You know, if they all hate it, I go, you know, sorry, I'll make another one that's better. But if you like it, that's great. You know.
Well, what's going to happen now, Richard? I'm going to say goodbye to the audience who are watching on this week's video. I'm going to keep you on for a couple more seconds because I'm going to film something with you that I'm not going to show everyone this week. I'm going to show this next part during the film festival.
Sure.
This will come in between some of the movies. I'll probably play it before Psycho Ape on the Friday. Because
hey, my pants are already off. Don't worry about it. Let's go.
With the surprise that I show you will not be me standing up with no pants on, so don't worry. But at this point, I'm going to say goodbye to everyone, and we're going to go, and then I'll play the trailer for Bigfoot Ate My Boyfriend as a memory of 4 years ago at the first event. And I'll post the links to your Kanuki links so everyone can see the new films that have been remastered. What I was thinking, I can't remember. Did the Gator Blade? I should have looked at this. You know, I have it somewhere in my reach actually. Did the Gator Blade release of Bigfoot Ain't My Boyfriend, did that have a commentary track?
It did have. It had a commentary with myself and Kirk Monowira. But all
Okay.
these new remastered versions, they all have brand new 2021 commentaries, and really they're enhanced in every way. I would definitely look at the new ones if you guys are ever wanting to check another title out. Definitely, but yeah, the commentaries, they were there. They're also now on the new re-releases. So we carried over those old extras and added to it.
Because sometimes when I think of, did I hear that on a commentary track, or did I hear it because I interviewed somebody and talked to them about it myself?
Yeah.
Which I mix them up. So anyway, I'm getting old. So here's the trailer. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you at Terrible Tuesday Fest on 28th and 29th on twitch.tv/Riot at the Movies. And
over the last 200 years, there have been more than 2,000 sightings of wild ape men reported in America. It's Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. Tell me about him.
This is a really big foot. These are big feet. Big feet.